everybody, it's Mr. Dipper. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am presenting you with a driver's training series for VibeRide. On April 1st, VibeRides will be launched live to the public for picking up passengers. And because of that, we have created this driver training series. Now, this series will cover everything that you could possibly need to know, from driver safety, passenger safety, compensation, etc. So make sure you watch all the videos in the entire series and educate yourself on the whole process. Download the app, of course, get yourself registered, and we will see you on the road.
Okay, VibeRides Driver Training Series. Next slide, please, Mark. And we're going to talk about today is what we like to call the R3 program and the Overdrive program. As I said before, this is some interesting concepts. I know people are going to want to hear all about this, so hang on. Next slide, please, Mark. Again, we've got our Spanish Zoom line, 443-186-957. If you want to be in the Spanish line, or I tried this yesterday, I'll try it again today. 443-186-957. Hopefully I did that right for the Spanish people. Okay, next slide, please, Mark. Okay, so what I thought I'd do first of all is I want to do a little bit of a recap. We covered a lot of information over the last 3 days. And so what I wanted to do is go through and recap a couple of the key slides that are pertaining to you as drivers. And what we're really focused on today, and along with the Overdrive concept, is what we've been calling the opportunity-driven concept. So again, I want to go back and review a few of our concepts that we discussed quickly. So Mark, next slide, please. You know, we talked about this earlier in the week, and we talked about how your pay is calculated. And I'm not going to go through in great detail as I did before going over all of these concepts. What I just want to take away from you is that when we're talking about, and we'll probably interchange and use the word fare, you'll see it in a couple slides, F-A-R-E, fare, that really pertains to the mileage and time component of how your pay is calculated. As we talked about the other day, you know, the technology platform fee, that is a fee that goes to support our technology developed as it continues for the app. Sales tax, airport fees, venue fees are what they are. We have to collect those, and we have to remit those to the appropriate authorities. The tolls you are reimbursed for, but when we calculate the percentage that you get, it comes off the mileage and time. Okay, next slide, please, Mark. So we talk about this. We've talked about, and I just want to clarify again, is again, going back to the map, going back to the mileage and time piece, just so again to clarify. The mileage and time piece, when you start off with your first ride, you're going to be being paid 70%. By the time you reach your 50 rides for the month, you're going to be paying 75%. So again, people ask like, well, what happens if I come up to the first, if I only have 40 rides, you'll be paid at a 70% rate. When you get up to the 50 rides, excuse me, you're going to be paid at 75%. So again, I just want to recap that for everybody so everybody understands what was going on. Next slide, please, Mark. There is another concept that we went over yesterday, and this is a promotion that we're doing. We call it Vibe 5. And again, we're doing this just to be clarified. This is on your first 5 rides. This is not every 5 rides. This is your first 5 rides as a VibeRides driver. So the way we've set this up is when you do your first 5 drives after you get on the road and you maintain a minimum rating of 4.2 over those first 5 rides, we're going to compensate you with a $50 reward for doing that. And the reason we're doing that is to help offset some of the costs as relates to the background checks and the vehicle inspections. But again, that's what we call the Vibe 5 driver promotion. First 5 rides you get when you're a driver. Okay, next slide, please, Mark. Okay, Overdrive. Here we go, talking about Overdrive. So up to this point, we've been focused on you as a driver, just simply a driver. But if you remember all along this, over the last 3-4 sessions we've had, I've always said that VibeRides is different, that we're just different. We've explained some of the ways we're different, as just you've seen how we do vibes, how we catch your vibe, how you contain your vibe. But now we're going to talk about the opportunity-driven concept. And we're just going to do a little differentiation here. For some of you drivers, you're going to say, I just want to be a driver. I'm just happy to be a driver. For a lot of you, I think when you see the overdriven concept, we call it the opportunity-driven concept, you're going to see why we believe this is one of the most exciting programs that's going to be launched in the rideshare industry. Now, we're doing this in conjunction with a branding partner. As every company out there has a marketing company that we work with, VibeRides has a marketing partner, a branding partner that we work with called iBoomerang. And iBoomerang is the company that's been putting together this marketing program for us. Okay, can I have the next slide, Mark? Okay, so we call part of our concept here, we call R3. We look at Vibe as the next generation rideshare. And we have 3 ways to earn income. So if you're looking at that, you're going to be able to say, how in the heck do you have 3 ways to earn income? So if you're looking at this slide here, you're going to see over on the left, you're going to see where it says earn when you drive. And that's basically the way that rideshare has been up till now. You earn when you drive. And that's what we classify as a self-employment concept. But when we're talking about the opportunity-driven concept, we're talking about the potential to earn when others drive and earn when customers ride. So I want you to think about that. So 2 other ways to earn income versus the ways traditionally been done in rideshare. Next slide, please, Mark. So we really have, it's a matter of having passive income. We earn when they drive, like I said, and you can actually earn when they ride. Next slide, Mark. So again, I mentioned this number before, early in the week, 12%. So now we go back to that concept of fare. And fare, as you remember before, I said was mileage and time. So while you may be getting 75% as a driver, up to 75%, if you made your 50 rides, you could be at only 70% if you're under 50 rides. But of each ride, each fare, each ride, we take 12% of that mileage and time piece, and we put it into the concept called Overdrive. So again, I did some of this math for you the other day. If you take a look at it and say, okay, 75% of that mileage and time is going to me, and there's another 12% going to this Overdrive concept, that's 87% of the mileage and the time being paid out in compensation, which I think you'll admit that in the rideshare industry today, that's a number and a concept that's unheard of. That's why we're excited about this. That's why we're just different. So I'm going to explain this a little bit further. I know it's going to be a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try to slow down here a little bit for everybody so you stick with me. Next slide, Mark. Okay, there's a lot going on in this slide, but let me explain it. I just want you to take a look at the slide, and you can kind of see the line right down the middle. So in every ride that happens, every drive that happens, there's really 2 components. We've got the driver on one side and the rider on the other side. So I'm going to stay focused right now on the driver's side. So when we look at the driver here, I'm going to give the driver a name. When I first saw this slide, I thought it was Fred Brim, our customer service manager, our director. So Fred, I apologize, but at first I thought that was you. So in my example today, I'm going to call the driver Fred. Fred's the driver. And Fred is, like I said, Fred can just be a driver like everybody else. In this example, we have $100, and this is going for the fare breakdown. So this is the mileage and the time. Wouldn't we all love to have $100 in a fare? But this just makes the math easy, so just stick with me on this. So Fred, as the driver, the mileage and time piece was $100. Fred's getting 75% of that. Fred's been over his 50 rides for the month, and Fred earns 75%. Fred has that number. So now I'm going to go up, and you see a concept called driver refer. And I'm going to call the driver refer, the guy with the long kind of blondie, silvery hair and looks like a little bit of facial hair. I'm going to call him Bob. So in this example, I'm going to say that Bob referred Fred to be a Vibe driver. Okay, so Bob basically said, hey, Fred, why don't you be a Vibe driver? Now, the interesting thing about this is you'll see in some of the other rideshare programs that you get compensated for referrals. You get compensated if you refer a rider, if you refer a driver, you get compensated. In our concept with VibeRides and Overdrive, you're going to be compensated also. But here's the unique thing. You will be compensated as long as that person you referred continues to drive. So if Fred continues to drive all the time, every time Fred drives, Bob, who referred Fred, is going to get 3%, and that would be the $3. So that $100 mileage and time breakdown, if there was $100, Bob, who referred Fred, would earn 3% or $3 every time Fred drives. So let me say that again. It's 3%. In this example, it's $100, so it's $3, but every time Fred takes a drive, Bob is going to earn 3%. Okay, so again, I was talking about a 12% going to Overdrive. So there's another component about that. There's an additional 3% that Bob can earn. If you see the little arrow going up there to the left, it says drive share pool. In that drive share pool, there's another 3% that's put in there. So Bob, as the driver referrer, Bob doing the referral, has the opportunity to earn another 3%, or in our example, a total of $6. So again, we take that fare breakdown and you can see how it goes. You've got 75% or $75 going to Fred, $3 or 3% going to Bob, and another 3% or $3 going to the drive share pool. Okay, so that's the driver side. Now let's go over to the rider side. I guess I better come up with some names for the rider side here too. So we're going to say our rider's name here. This is Tim. Tim is our rider. Okay, if Tim is the rider, he's the guy that's going to pay the complete fare, which is going to include the $100 mileage and time piece. So Tim will be paying that fare, and Tim really is a rider. He's a rider. He's not getting much, but he has opportunities to get much, some more. So let's look at the example of, we also have, we had Bob on the one side, who is a driver referrer. There's also the potential on the rider side to actually refer people. So I'm going to say this is Mary here, and Mary was the one that referred Tim to VibeRides. So again, if you remember my examples, some other companies would say you can have a one-time shot to basically refer somebody. But again, if Mary refers Tim, Mary's also going to earn 3% of that mileage and time fare, and Tim is going to be her referral for as long as Tim continues to take VibeRides. So wherever Tim goes, whether it's in Florida, Texas, Washington, pick a state, California, New York, New Jersey, wherever Tim goes and takes a VibeRide, Mary is always going to get 3% of that mileage and time fare that Tim pays. So what makes this interesting is, I go back over to Bob. Bob could have been the one that referred Fred, and Bob could potentially be the one that referred Tim. In that situation, Bob would earn 3% on Fred and 6% on Tim. So I think you get a little bit of an idea of the potential. But Mary may be a person that has no interest in driving. Mary just may be a person that likes to ride and refers other riders and refers her friends. But if Mary refers other people to use VibeRides, Mary will continue to earn 3% of that fare as long as Tim's her rider or whoever she has. So very similar to how we did the drive side, there's also the same concept on the ride side. So again, we talked about a 12% that got put into the Overdrive pool. So if we look again at the driver side, we added 6%, 3% for Bob, 3% for the referral, for the drive share pool. If we go over on the rider side, you're going to see that Mary, she's got 3%. And then we also have the ride share pool where 3% is put in there. So Mary not only has the opportunity to earn 3% on Tim's ride, she has the opportunity to earn up to another 3% on the ride share pool. So if we add those all together, that's where it comes up to be the 12%. Now, the interesting concept here is if we look at this chart, like I said, Bob could be the referred person on both sides, or Mary could be the referral person on both sides. So depending on that combination of drivers or riders that you refer, there's a possibility and the potential to earn up to another 12% on every ride and drive that happens. So I think you're going to see that that's pretty exciting. And like I said, it's not a one-time deal. This goes for as long as those people use VibeRides, as long as they drive, as long as they ride. That's passive income for you. Okay, Mark, on the next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to help you build your driver fleet. So when we look at this, there's some of you out there that are very entrepreneurial, and they're going to say, holy crap, I have a lot of people I know that I can refer to do VibeRides. And that basically means that you could basically build your own fleet of drivers or people that you know that'll drive, and you can always make 3% up to 6% off of every fare they make. So we're helping you build that driver fleet. Next slide, please, Mark. All right, so hopefully everybody's ready. We're going to get started. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. So let's hit the engine start button and let's go on to the next slide, Mark. Okay. Oh, let me back up, Mark. Let me back up one slide, and hopefully you've got the possibility calculator. Let's pull the possibility calculator up at this point in time. So we're going to give you a little bit more of an idea here, and we call this a possibility calculator. And I'm just going to put a lot of disclaimers on here for everybody. This calculator, when we put in the parameters, will be an actual calculation. We can't make any guarantee that you're going to come anywhere close to making these income levels, because in order to achieve these numbers, it has to be something that you have to do. You have to be able to build your business. So like I said, these are just the numbers we put in here. The results will come out accurately as what you would be paid, but we make absolutely no representation at all that these are going to be the results that you're going to achieve. So let's start up at the beginning at the number of drivers. So we're going to go back and take Bob as our example, and we're going to say that Bob does a pretty good job, and he recruits 5 people to be drivers for VibeRides. So Mark's going to put the number 5 in there for us. And then we're going to say that the average ride, which is the average, the mileage and time piece, is $15. And $15 is what would get paid out from the related to the mileage and the time. So if we look for the average rides per day, we've heard numbers, we've heard some pretty interesting numbers from people say they go from 10 all the way up to 40. Well, let's use our example, Mark. Let's put 15 in for the average rides per day. Okay, and then the question is, how many days per week do you drive? Some of you may drive 5, some may drive 7, some make 6, but for example here, let's just leave this at 5. Okay, and then we said that override percentage, if you remember, for the referring driver was 3%. So if we look at this, this would tell us in this scenario that the additional revenue per week that could be earned by Bob would be almost $170. The additional revenue he could earn per month would be $675. So part of our reason for putting together and working with iBoomerang to develop this concept is to give people the opportunity to earn more passive income and earn money when other people are working. So if you just want to see, and like I said, I'm going to give you a little bit more of an extreme example here, just to show you the potential that you have out there and the possibilities that's there. Let's just take Bob's number of drivers up to 10, Mark. Say Bob knows a lot of people. He's going to refer them. They're going to get up to 10. And let's just take the average rides per day up to 20, which I think is a little bit more realistic for our drivers out there. They're driving all the time. And let's say people are driving 6 days per week. Okay, so if you look at that, you're going to say, wow. In that situation, Bob may be making an additional over $500 per week and additional revenue per month over $2,000. That's why we call it an opportunity-driven concept. Okay, so Mark, I appreciate you pulling that up. Let's go back to the get started slides. Okay, Now we can click on to the next one. So what does that mean? How do we do it? So this is a completely different program and concept, and I'm going to touch on this briefly today. Okay, I'm going to touch on it briefly today. I know that going through this is going to be a lot of questions. So as I said earlier in my discussion today, on Tuesday next week, I'm going to cover this in more detail than I am today. I'm going to cover it a little bit more detail today. But your question is going to be is, okay, I love that whole concept of overdrive. I love the opportunity to be able to do that. What does it mean? How does it work? So here's the concept. If you want to be an Overdrive ambassador, if you want to be an overdriver with VibeRides, here's what it takes: a $49.95 business registration fee, okay? And you have to purchase what we call a $200 Overdrive pack. Now, for those of you, the drivers that want to go this route from an opportunity standpoint, that $200 Overdrive pack will cover your background check and your vehicle inspection. And of course, you're going to get 75% of the distance and time charge. You get 75% after the first 50 rides. So in addition to that Overdrive pack, there is a monthly subscription for the technology and for the way that we have to operate this, which will be $100 per month. If you go back and look at and think about the possibility calculator, some of you may be saying, wow, that seems like a high dollar amount. But in reality, if you go back and look at the possibility calculator, you're going to see that by recruiting possibly 2 to 3 people a month with very nominal amounts of driving, that you're going to be able to recoup this cost of $100 a month and put yourself into business, to be a business person and build a fleet. And that's why, again, I keep going back to the concept of opportunity-driven concept. You have the opportunity here to build a fleet. You have the opportunity to build much higher and much more than you would in any other rideshare company. So I hope everybody here, is excited about this concept. There's some other concepts here on this slide. For right now, I said I think I've given you enough today to digest, to go back to listen to. But I'm going to come back on Tuesday next week, and I'm going to cover a little bit more detail on this because I know there's a lot of other questions on this, but we're going to do it. Again, if you got additional questions, please go VibeRides.com and click support, or VibeRideSupport.com. A lot of good information out there. So that wraps it up for us today. Look, thank you for being on the call. Appreciate all of you, and drive smart, be safe. Thank you.